Okay, I'll talk a little bit about what we got here. I went ahead and pulled this thing off the car. This is the steering box. This is supposed to be a 57 Ford steering box, and I don't doubt it. It probably is. Looks like I didn't see anything online that really matched it. A lot of Ford truck boxes are kind of similar, but it doesn't look like the bolt holes are going to match up. But I don't think it matters too much if the bolt holes don't match up. If we get the camera over here where you can kind of look at how this thing bolts to the frame. It's just a couple pieces of angle iron that somebody's put up there, and if I needed to re-drill them, remount the box, I don't think that's much of a problem. One thing I am thinking about, and I got this trouble with my other hot rod, the Rambler out there, it doesn't have power steering, and when you don't have power steering, it just takes a whole lot of the fun out of the riding around. Whoever put this thing on here, they welded it. This is the steering shaft. It comes into this joint, and then there's a bolt hole here to clamp this onto the shaft out of the steering box. Instead of putting a bolt through there, they welded it, which means that the only way to get this apart is to grind all this weld off, which is just exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to grind all this weld off so that my shaft is all free and clear here. Because I'm thinking, even though I might take this box apart and just mess around with it and see if I can tighten it up a bit, I'm thinking for all intents and purposes, I'd just so much rather have power steering that it would be worth it to go ahead and replace this with a power steering box and acquire a pump. Once you get a box on there, it's not that hard to hook up a pump. I'd have to get some double pulleys and stuff, but I think in the long run I'd be a lot happier if I did that. So I think what I'm going to do is just grind this off of here so that I can get this part loose, and then just kind of take it from there. Okay, I got that done. This is the shaft, and it was, like I said, it was all welded in here, and I took the grinder and I just cut around the edge of that weld so that now I got my little U-joint here kind of really all set to go into a decent steering box if I can find one and get it just right. I'm going to study on this a while and then try and decide which would be the very best way to go as far as getting the right box. But I'm thinking another Ford type box, Ford truck type box should work. That's the plan. So I am going to take this other one here, and I am going to mess around with this thing because, you know, just heck, it'd be fun to clean it all up and check out the mechanism. And I was thinking that this thing had a warped shaft. I still think it has a warped shaft right here, which is not good. But it might be fun just to see how close I can get and how good I can get it to work, because basically all it would take is bolting it back on there to make it workable. So I don't know. We might play around with that a little bit. We'll see. Okay, I guess this is worth shooting. This is the whole thing apart, and this is a pretty simple mechanism. You know, this is the shaft that goes down that runs the rod that turns the front wheels, and this is the part of the shaft that goes up toward the steering column, and this gear just fits in here, and when it turns, it turns this thing like so. That's how a steering column works, basically. Interesting, this bearing fell out of it, and it's just absolutely caked in ice, which is kind of interesting, but looks like the bearing itself is in pretty decent shape. I think what I'm going to do is just clean this all up and put it back together and just study the action of it and see if I can decide whether it's you know, anything I want to mess with or not. That won't take me long, and then we'll just decide. I'm still leaning toward the power steering deal, but you know, it might be fun to put this back together just to see how close I can get it to being more workable than it was. Okay, here's the inside of the steering box, and it's kind of sad. This part right here actually looks good. I didn't even realize this thing was a roller when it was inside there. It was so crammed up with gook that you couldn't tell. It's got nice little bearings in it. This part here, though, is, well, for one thing, you can see that bearing right there is just wasted. Now that could be replaced, but then if you look closer, I don't know if you can see that where there's really some gaps along. I think you can see that really some chips, gaps. The teeth are just really edged off and flattened out and wore out and about broken. I don't think I'm going to fix this thing. You know, to be honest with you, the money I would spend to fix this, I could buy a pretty good steering box. I was just looking online, and I could pick up something pretty similar. I probably had to re-drill the holes and refigure the mounting, but I can pick up something pretty similar for a decent price, plus get power steering in the deal. So I think that's the way I'm going to go. So my old girl's just going to sit here without a steering box for a few days while I locate another one, and I'll move on to a different project.